Speaking of cool stuff, question mark. We'll see.
Question mark.
Question mark.
That's
You see what I did? Question. The Meta Quest was announced earlier today. At Facebook's, they call it the Connect event, I think.
the Connect conference.
Connect conference. Yeah, there we go. It's a new VR headset from Meta, formerly known as Facebook. It's going to be available on October 25th and has a $1,500 price tag to it. Holy cow. Is this the future of gaming in AR, though? Like,
No.
Are they setting the new standard?
No. I mean,
You just said no. Okay.
no. Couple problems. I think we're still 5 to 10 years,
Yeah.
and here's why. The Quest Pro VR
Yep.
and / mixed reality headset, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, that's a different thing, but yes.
Let's hit the headline. $1,500.
Yes.
Okay. This is not for 98% of people
Yeah.
a like, oh yeah, let's give it a shot purchase.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not what it is. Cool, it's lighter and slimmer and neater and tracking sensors and cool, and it's a neat piece of tech, I guess. I would want to hold those controllers. They look a little small to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's lighter, which is good. Fix the motion sickness problem.
I mean,
I know there's supposed to be an augmented reality. There's an augmented reality piece. Again, it's too expensive, right? Like, it's too expensive.
the Vive, I was just looking up from HTC, is the Pro, which is what this is $1,400. Like, VR is still in a place where I don't think most normal folks can afford, right, to be able to kind of get with that. Even PlayStation. The problem with PlayStation's headset is supposedly much more cost effective, but the problem is you got to have a PlayStation, which is damn near impossible for most people to get right now, or a PS5 at least. Let me put it that way. You got to get a PS5, which is still hard to get for a lot of people. So by the time you add up all the stuff for the PlayStation, when you're in $1,500 as well there too.
I mean, you could if you could get a hold of a PlayStation 5, you can get the starter set for the VR pack, and you technically need a PS4. You can run this on the PS4 Pro.
Okay, fair enough.
We actually have a PSVR at the store. I just never hooked it up to the PS5. It's just kind of a pain in the butt to upgrade it. You can do it for the PS4 Pro. I mean, you can buy a used one for okay, but again, you're still, like you said, let's say I go buy a PS5 and a PSVR Mega Pack, right? PSVR headset, straight up. $339 plus $500, so I'm in $900.
Yeah. And there's a lot less. The other problem that comes along with that then is there's a lot less to do on the PlayStation version because it's a walled garden than there is per se on the Quest. And like, people are actively developing for the Quest, all versions of it. I'm partnering with a production company to do the thing that I'm on tour with that I can't talk about on stream, but like, they're doing immersive 360 video and Meta's one of the sponsors with them. And so like, they're actively, Meta and them are actively going out trying to find production companies who can make alternate types of content for this, where I don't think you can really get that on like a PlayStation. And like, you can usually use the Quest on like Steam and some other things like that. Like, there's a lot more available for it. I don't know if I'm bought into this whole metaverse thing though. That's one of the big selling points of this whole thing is the metaverse, and I'm very confused by it.
Right. Are you bought into the metaverse? And I think that economically you're looking at a lot of competing interests right now. In a world,
in a world,
right? in a world where companies are not chomping at the bit to get people back to the office, right? In a world where we're still in lockdown. I'll give you an example. If I'm selling this to one of my old companies, right? I'm trying to sell them on this AR concept because you can do your all hands that you fly everybody from half the country to one place, like I used to do. You know, you remember these trips that I used to go on, where they would fly everybody from New York and Chicago and LA and Seattle and everywhere in the freaking country to Vegas. Why? Because they wanted us to be in a room. You could do this with augmented reality, and $1,500 is a lot cheaper than flying each individual, because like that trip is more expensive for me than $1,500 for the company to pay for it. This is the only way you're going to get heavy level adoption of this, is companies that are like, yes, this is the cost savings you want. The problem is they want everybody back in the office. They don't want this. They don't want this remote thing. Like, what is the benefit to a corporation for this metaverse thing?
But let's be real about this though. Okay, so you try to do an all hands meeting or an offsite in the metaverse. You cannot see me give you resting bitch face while you're trying to talk to me about Q4 fucking numbers.
This is the thing. Is this
like,
thingy
has
missing eye and facial tracking to translate to your facial expressions.
Oh, trust me, I don't know if it can do it quite enough for me, because, you know, if I'm sitting there and we're listening to it for like this many hours, like, can you imagine like what that's gonna look like, having to have a headset on the whole time? Like,
yeah. And again, also apparently the battery life on this thing is an hour or two.
It's wireless though, right? Or can you can you plug it in wired or no?
I don't have that information in front of me. I know I was reading that the battery set is like an hour or two.
I don't think that, you know what? I don't think there is there's a bunch of USB, there's charging docks and stuff. I don't think you can actually plug it in unless you can like run a long enough cable, maybe.
I don't think you're supposed to plug it in. I think it's designed to not be plugged in so that you can walk around and do stuff.
Yeah. I just don't seem to understand the idea of the world and the Meta Quest and stuff. You can get a Quest 2 for like $399, which again is more affordable, but again is got its battery limitations and stuff like that. It doesn't quite come with all the same things that are going on in this Pro version to it, but I'm a little, so that's the VR side of it. So the whole metaverse and everything like that, which I don't buy into right now, because we've already had the metaverse is like Second Life. Does anybody remember that from back in the day? Like,
it's like Second Life mixed with that world from Ready Player One, where everybody lived in the VR world.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: until you have haptic suits and other stuff, and basically the way that worked in like Ready Player One was, it didn't cost any money.
Yeah.
It was free, completely free.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the one thing that is good that came out of this was a full-on Among Us VR, no longer a port, like it's an official Among Us game in VR.
Cool.
That'll last me about one night, because it's already hard enough to get people to play Among Us. If you've been on our channel on Friday nights when we try to stream it, you'll understand.
Here's my question. Have they fixed some of the inherent problems? One, better, like you said, like A, hard to get everybody together. B, it's a better life of an hour. Cool. On those nights when we do get everybody together for gaming on our channels, it's 3, 4, 5 hours. Yeah. Right? Have they fixed, because I know this is a problem with all of them, have they fixed the motion sickness issue?
Yeah. That's a human malware function, if you ask me.
Well, it's not just human. It's you are putting somebody into a virtual environment that does not match what their inner ear is telling them is happening in the real world.
Yeah.
Right? There's been huge reports of motion sickness issues.
Chat saying the biggest mistake they made is they cut out Oculus. Most VR knowers state that MetaQuest 2 is enterprise hardware, not meant for gaming. But it can be, but it's not its goal. So,
Again, okay, so now you're saying it's enterprise hardware. What's the business case?
I sort of wonder if they're doing this to take on Microsoft HoloLens.
But they're partnering with Microsoft on this. With Teams.
But like you partner with a lot of companies to kind of do these things and you eventually branch off, right?
Yeah.
So is that a thing that they're basically getting it to create something like that? Or are they, they could use strategic partnership to make some money and get inroads with different ways. I mean, are we starting to see the next generation of, AR combat helmets or something like that, right? Like that's something that actually exists, but
this is the most interesting part of what this is the augmented reality function. And I would love to play with it, right? Because my understanding is it will create like AR screens, so you would no longer need multiple monitors.
Yep.
You could hook this to your PC, and it would create as many monitors as you wanted or needed, right? In virtual space, right? Which is neat.
Yeah.
Cool. And again, 5-10 years from now, totally see it.
It has virtual desktoping and stuff like that to it. The chat's letting us know, but like, but it's like one of those things where it's like, how much are you actually going to be able to get done on that screen? And how are you going to be able, like, again, it's wireless and it's got a certain amount of battery life. So are you going to only be able to, work for like an hour and then you've got to get up and like walk to the bathroom? Like, people already have a hard enough time muting their microphones when they go to the bathroom on like Zoom meetings and stuff like that. Can you imagine a full AR headset? I'm just saying. I don't know if the Office is ready for this yet.
I think Meta, I think he's reaching. Like, look, their profit for the first quarter this year was down 21% on a revenue rise of 7%.
Yeah.
Right? Their user growth has gone to crap. People are not walking but running away from Facebook, right? Because it's a dumpster fire, right?
Well, they keep pushing everybody. They, all their money makers in the election deniers and stuff like that are all getting banned. So,
well, it's not just. I mean, like from beginning of the year to date, they're down. More than 50%.
User base?
No. Oh. Stock.
Oh, okay. I was like, no.
No, their stock is down over 50%.
Yeah.
From beginning of the year. They're in trouble. Right? Like, they are in trouble. He's throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. I see what they're doing. I just think it's...
Is it a long-term bet? Is the question. Can it be a long-term bet?
No. I mean, here's the thing. I think that he's going to develop this, and it's kind of like some other stuff. It's what I think will eventually kill Tesla.
Okay.
You don't want to be the first one. You want to be the best one, right?
Okay.
Amazon was not the first all-in-one online marketplace.
No.
But they became the best one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that these pieces of tech are going to be like, arguably BlackBerry was one of the first smartphones.
Right, but they didn't evolve. That's an iterative environment.
Right, and I'm saying I think they're evolving. It's whether you don't evolve or evolve in the wrong direction. And BlackBerry tried to evolve. They just evolved in the wrong direction.
Technically, BlackBerry is still around. Technically. I don't know anybody with a BlackBerry, but it's still technically around, I think.
I'll look.
Yeah.
They are.
But, I mean, it's not, we're in a world dominated by Android.
Right.
Like,
so
chat says yes, long-term bet. Meta is trying to angle to be the beta version of VR AR Enterprise when they go to Google Cardboard or something like that. So
VR AR.
I think what they're arguing is now that like this is the pro line model for those people that really love it, and they're using it to iterate to do essentially what is a cost-cutting mechanism later on. It sounds like.
And what I'm saying is that I don't think it's going to be them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the equivalent, because what revolutionized smartphones was the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And then Google came out with theirs right after that and developed the Android platform, and now we're off to the races. I don't think it's going to be Meta. I think that Meta's going to develop this stuff, but again, looking at their product, nothing I have seen shows me the business case for this device, right?
So their business division's got some work to do, basically.
If I'm a corporate buyer, and I've been a corporate buyer with a big expense account, what are you giving me this for? Like, in the many industries I've worked in, and you know this, I worked in a thing where I did a lot of industry agnostic stuff because that was my skill set. Worked with a lot of industries. I cannot see a viable business case for this, so especially at this price point.
Which I think will be interesting because a lot of people have tried to make these verse type things. I mentioned Second Life. I've mentioned, we'll talk about some games and stuff like that here earlier, or a little bit later and stuff like that. But I am interested to see if, Microsoft with the HoloLens, if they start coming up with more ways to do. So I'll use the example for Alexa and Google. So both of those do something for somebody in real life.
Yes.
I don't see at the moment the use cases in VR and AR that do something that ambient, like using your voice is something that is most of the time, and I want to say most of the time because some people are mute and unable to speak. Most of the time, it is a universal thing. And you can solve a problem. I've got my hands full. I need to work through, or I'm just need to like handle something while I'm predisposed or something along those lines, or I need to check on, the house while I'm away.
I want to turn on this lamp.
Yeah.
Right. That's our Alexa, the Echo that I have at my house.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, turn on this lamp because I got stuff in my hands and I don't want to walk across the room.
Well, and then there is the standard of, reminding you to do things. You play music and can keep you entertained in certain things like that.
Yeah, I have the daily brief function operated on my Echo.
Yeah, certainly it's one of those things where, it could be that sort of thing. I don't see yet where AR is doing that thing for the lay person, right? Can it be a specialized piece, like a Tony Stark kind of feel? Absolutely. I think everybody's thinking of the future when it comes to stuff like that. But what I think that Facebook and like HTC and some of these other companies that are getting into it, they've got to find that use case that makes it usable for every person to want to pick it up and use it. And that's where like Google Glass, and it's got to be at a price point. Yes. And that's where like Google Glass, as much as people hated it, was like the first cyberware. It wasn't the first ever out there, but like there's Echo frames and stuff like that now too. Like those things can help you solve everyday issues. And until you get to that level with something like the metaverse, which I just don't think it's there yet, I don't see this necessarily growing in the industry.
And again, it actually kind of comes back to weapons development. Right. And you and I had this discussion a bunch when we were developing IDENTECO. Mm-hmm. And you asked me a question once about weapons when I was writing stats on them and stuff like that. You were like, why not more? I'm like, because it's about how much better it is for how much more it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Right.
For context, this was a discussion of in 2099 in IDENTECO, why are we still firing bullets? And that was it was just a challenge question for him to prove to me what the logic was behind it.
Exactly. And it's a good question. And it's the same thing here. For what I'm getting out of the MetaQuest Pro or any of these VR headset systems, is the experience fundamentally better than what I get from playing Squadrons on my monitor, Star Wars Squadrons? And is it better to the tune of how much more I've got to pay to do it.
Yes, correct.
Right? And that's the use case that I don't think any of these people,
yeah,
right, have quite figured out. Is, you know, how much better is it than what I'm already doing, and is it better enough where I can cost justify in my mind?
Yeah,
$400, $500, $1,500, right?
Yep. Well, before we leave this topic, I will just leave with one last thing the chat said. The metaverse is doomed because people that inhabit VR chat will also inhabit the metaverse. Imagine a business meeting with 3 anime girls, Sonic and Master Chief.
Yes.
You're welcome.
and